let me just explain briefly. We are a group of about 30 quilters and long armors, men and women. And today we have some very lovely honors to award. So first of all, welcome to all who are here, friends, family, members of the Pueblo, servicemen and women, veterans. Thank you for joining us this morning. A special thank you to Mayor Baroni for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to thank our veterans and honor them with a few quilts of valor. So in 2019, the Quilt and Needlecraft Guild started what we hoped was going to be a wonderful tradition. We were able in 2019 to award 11 Quilts of Valor to our veterans here at the Mayor's Breakfast. It was rewarding and exciting, and Mayor Baroni invited us back for 2020, which, as we all know, didn't happen. So, we didn't give up. Last year on July 4th, we awarded 18 Quilts of Valor, but individually. Each of us took Quilts of Valor and we drove around all over Taos and Taos County and awarded veterans quilts. Many of you may not have heard about a Quilt of Valor. These are quilts made by members of our guild locally and by other guilds and groups and individuals nationally. In our guild, we come from all backgrounds and lives, but we all share a desire to welcome home, thank, and honor every one of our veterans, no matter the branch of service, no matter the time, no matter the circumstance and the place of that service. Each of us was and is keenly aware of the sacrifice required by that service. With fewer Americans engaged in active military service, there is a danger that service will go unrecognized, unappreciated, and perhaps even forgotten. This is not going to happen here. Here in Taos, each quilt is designed, pieced, and quilted in this town to recognize members of our military who have served. So speaking now about the Quilt of Valor Foundation, it began in 2003 with a dream. Our founder had a dream that her son was deployed in Iraq. According to her, the dream was as vivid as real life. She saw a young man sitting on the side of the bed, all hunched over. The permeating feeling was one of utter despair. I could see his war demons clustered around, dragging him down into an emotional gutter. Then, as if viewing a movie, I saw him in the next scene, wrapped up in a quilt. His whole demeanor changed from one of despair to one of hope and well-being. The quilt made a dramatic change. The message was, quilts equal healing. The model is simple. We have a volunteer team who donate their time and materials and capabilities to make a quilt. One person would piece the top and another would quilt it. And I saw a name for this special quilt. It's called a Quilt of Valor. The Foundation's mission today is to cover servicemen and women who have been touched by war with comforting and healing with a Quilt of Valor. To date, since 2003, almost 275,000 Quilts of Valor have been awarded nationally. As nearly as possible, because I'm not so good with figures, I am pleased to tell you that the Taos Quilt and Needlecraft Guild has awarded 66 Quilts of Valor this year. And today, we have another 8 to award, and one additional award which will be awarded in a couple of days. In one special case today, both a father and son will receive a Quilt of Valor. I want to offer a sincere and quick thank you to Ernestine and Francis Cordova for their help in identifying local veterans. Veterans, you come from all services and every conflict from World War II to Iraq and Afghanistan. One of our veterans, the gentleman who is receiving his later this week, is a survivor of World War II. During the war, he piloted missions over Italy for over a year and then was sent to England to be part of the D-Day invasion. His squad of 36 landed at Omaha Beach, and he is one of the 3 who survived that landing. He is alert, vibrant, and he will be 99 this week. He's one of our special cases. He lives in Denver, and you know what? I don't care. He can be a Taos senior. I'm giving him a quilt. We are grateful to still have him with us. It is our small hope that we can offer a measure of sincere gratitude for his service to his country and to us in this late hour of his life. Laverne McClure, we thank you for your service. And now, without further ado, may I have Yolanda? There we are. On behalf of the Taos Quilt and Needlecraft Guild, I would like to award Yuleto Mestizas a Quilt of Valor. Yuleto, if you would stand, please. Yuleto was drafted in 1955 after enlisting with his cousin. His cousin was supposed to show up at the enlistment center, was late, and took Yuleto with him, where they both signed up. His Army and Army National Guard service history spanned 38 and a half years, often actively in one or the other, switching off through his service. Notably, Yuleto served in Vietnam from 1969 to 1970, rising in rank from a first sergeant to, I have been told this now 3 times on his behalf, a command sergeant major. He also received 2 Bronze Stars and an Air Medal while serving. He spent much of his time on helicopters touring South Vietnam, and with a smile, he remembers getting his driver to take him 45 miles away in Vietnam to see his brother-in-law. I have a feeling he wasn't supposed to do that. He spent a good deal of his career with the National Guard here in Taos and his last years on active service in Santa Fe. He says, even with serving in Vietnam, it was a very good life and a good career. Yuleto Mestizas, we thank you for your service. Thank you. Yvonne Manuelito Archuleta. Yvonne came to serve in honor of her father, Peter Raymond Manuelito, a Congressional Silver Star Code Talker and proud member of the Navajo Nation, and also to honor her brother, Patrick Raymond Manuelito, who served in Vietnam. Yvonne is a Taos Pueblo member through her mother. She served in the Coast Guard from 1980 to 1984 and spent 2 more years in the Reserve. She chose the Coast Guard because it was small, less than 40,000 servicemen and women, and because it was a law enforcement service. She talks about how positive and good the experience was. She learned to try new things and to work hard for new experiences. Vaughn says no matter where she went, she met others from her boot camp days and appreciated that about the Coast Guard. Because of her willingness to put herself out there, as she says, she was lucky enough to be sent to headquarters in Washington to serve under the Admiral of the Coast Guard on many special assignments. However, she was shocked at how many applied for that branch of service and did not know how to swim. Yvonne worried that her service career didn't involve actual war and conflict, and that would prohibit her from receiving a Quilt of Valor. But as many of our veterans know, peace is won and held by those who come between the conflicts as much as by those who actually fight. They are all indeed touched by war that precedes and the conflicts which start after. Yvonne, we thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I please have Roy and Timotito Viejo? Viejo. I apologize. I am not from this part of the country, and my Spanish is non-existent. Thank you. Guys, down here.
Me too.
So, age before beauty, let's talk about Timoteo first. Timoteo served in the Army from 1950 to 1972 as a staff sergeant in both Korea and Vietnam. In Korea, he was out on a mission with 4 others when, on a break, they were attacked. He was wounded by grenade shrapnel and received a Purple Heart. In his later years, he spent several tours in Vietnam. In all, he spent 15 years overseas. Roy, his son, says he was a great dad. He sacrificed a lot by being away so much, but they had a wonderful life following him all over the United States and the world. Mostly, Roy says, he served his country well. Timoteo, we thank you for your service.
These quilts are stunning.
Roy is an Army brat who clearly knew what he was getting into when he joined the Marine Corps and later the National Guard, where he spent a combined total of 27 years serving. During active duty, he spent a year in Iraq, in Iraqi Freedom 2. I asked him what it was like, and he told me that there were no rules.
Yeah.
It was a free-for-all. For example, people were buying motorcycles and scooters just to run around their 4-square-mile camp. Sounds like he and his buddy Danny nearly ran over a colonel one day, somehow disregarding certain speed limits. Roy talks about his time as a positive experience where he met people and worked hard. I would say that he worked hard protecting our freedoms. Roy, we thank you for your service.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, sirs.
Thank you. Albert V. Hill
Cheers.
will not be with us today, but his daughter, Roberta, is here to receive his Quilt of Valor. Roberta? Okay, I met.
He's coming.
Absolutely. Mario. Although he is not with us today, Albert sent a few things for us to share with you this morning. Albert served in the Army from 1967 to 1970 and spent 1968 to 69 in Vietnam. We have a lot of Vietnam vets today, and I just want to digress for half a minute and say thank you, thank you. I know that you feel that you were not thanked enough when you came home, and we want to rectify that today. Albert's most notable memory of his service is both his Army Commendation Medal from the Secretary of the Army for his service in Vietnam, and that it was an honor to serve his country. Albert asked that we recognize his parents, Gregorio Leopoldo Vigil and Lina Gonzalez, and his children, Roberto, Anita, Patricio, and Mario. He wanted to thank the sponsors and the Quilt of Valor makers on behalf of himself and his family. Albert, we thank you for your service. And accepting this quilt is Roberta and Mario V. Hill. Thank you. Thank you. Lori Joseph Silva. So Joseph Silva sent in a complete story, and I'm shortening it a bit, but in his own words is Lori's service. Joseph, I'm sorry, I think that's what you go by. In 1966, with no job on the horizon, the draft board was gonna come looking for me. The Vietnam War was not going away, so I enlisted in the Army, spent 8 weeks in basic training, was directed to advanced individual training and then airborne training, after which I was sent to the 101st Airborne, which was ordered into Vietnam. Left December 4th, 1967. I was stationed in South Vietnam for 5 months and survived the infamous Tet Offensive in February 1968. Our outfit was moved north to Phu Bai in 75 miles south of the demilitarized zone, the line that divides North and South Vietnam. Spent 7 months there. Even though my tour was over, I still had 10 months left on my enlistment of 3 years. The Army made me an offer I couldn't refuse. spend 5 more months there, and they would give me a 5-month early out on my enlistment. In other words, when my 5 months were up there, I would be out of the Army. I spent 17 months in Vietnam as the war dragged on. One note I'd like to share. South Vietnam is about as large as the state of California. You know, I did not know that. Thank you for telling me that. I thought it was smaller. Now, you know that Taos is a small town. I met 5 other soldiers from Taos there in Vietnam. That was awesome. And those 5 survived and returned home to Taos. Well, we're glad that you survived also, Joseph, and we thank you for your service. Thank you. Marge Hessek. There you are. There you go. Marge spent 6 years in the Air Force from 2000 to 2006. She was, and still is, a mechanic for diesel engines and was flight line support for all kinds of aircraft, including the B-1 bombers. She came to the Air Force at age 26 in order to go to college and learn computers and computer science. Like many, she's been able to take advantage of what serving in the Air Force offers. Marge told me about being a TODO. You know what that was. A TODO is a Technical Order Distribution Officer. It's a fancy name for a librarian. When she fixes something, even a flat tire, which she has fixed 1,000 times before, she has to have that manual open to that page when she completes her task. When asked what she remembers best about her service, Marge says it's the nuts and bolts of enlistment and the family units that the service creates. It's the same as in Taos, a sense of community and camaraderie. She also said that she's glad to be home in Taos because Taos people are nicer than anywhere else. Marge, we thank you for your service. Last and certainly not least, Joseph DeVargas. I wondered about that. Joseph DeVargas. Joseph spent 20 years in the Army as a combat medic and then 5 years in Fort Hood as a medical officer with a warfare transition unit. When asked where he served, he laughed and said he didn't need to talk about the regular postings in the U.S. and Alaska, but did say he was posted to Kuwait during the first Gulf War in 1996, Sinai, Egypt during Desert Storm and Desert Shield from 1998 to 1999, and Iraq from 2004 to 2005. He spent most of his time in the field and rarely in a hospital, a real hospital. He proudly spoke of training 700 combat lifesavers during 1 year in Iraq. Over time, it seems that he has helped train close to 20,000 troops prior to deployment. He was also boots on the ground in response to Katrina and spent a month there helping after that devastating hurricane. His mantra, I love this, adapt and overcome. You will never see the same situation twice, so adapt, overcome, and succeed. When asked what he would like to be remembered for during his service, he said he always did his job to the best of his ability, no matter if it was 1 day or 20 years. Joseph DeVargas, we thank you for your service.